Better? Do we have sound?
I can hear you now.
Good. Does it sound okay? Hopefully.
Yeah, sounds fine. It's not
Okay, cool. I'm not. Huh?
I don't think it's echoing like before.
Good. I'm actually not going to touch any more settings. I'm not going to unplug any mics, and I guess start going. So thank you, by the way, for being patient and for the help. That was like super helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so by the way, Jose, if you want to join us on this week's episode of Social Chatter. So I have 3 items I want to talk about and then 3 tools that I want to share with everybody. Item number 1 is probably the biggest thing this week, Twitter replacing favorites with likes. You know, you probably used to see on Twitter, you saw the star, they've now replaced it with a heart. They're now moving, I guess, towards, seems like they're copying Facebook with a lot of things they're doing. Are you a big Twitter user, John?
A little bit. I don't really understand the hearts deal. I don't think anyone really makes that big a deal, but
yeah, I mean,
it's definitely different.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I sort of like the idea that, you know, hopefully like likes mean the same thing that they do across other social networks. I mean, if you do anything with social analytics, I do with one of the companies I work for, and, you know, a lot of times we use that as KPIs, and that can make it really hard to kind of explain, well, okay, favorites and likes, because they had 2 different kind of meanings. And now I think they're more aligned. What about you, Jose?
We can't hear you, Jose.
Audio. No sound. Huh.
No sound Friday.
This is awesome. Wow.
Yeah, I pretty much just used favorites as like a bookmarking tool.
Yeah, and that's what people used to use it as. I mean, it used to be like, for example, if you mentioned somebody, instead of a company retweeting your tweet because you mentioned them, they would favorite it instead. So it was an alternative way. And now, I mean, I guess I would think maybe Twitter's going to use it to, you know, help decide what kind of to show people more of. You know, a retweet is like, hey, this is really good, and a like is like, oh, this is like good. You know, what do you think about that?
I think it could be that, or it could just be that they're trying to appeal to a little bit younger crowd, a little more younger Instagram crowd. Maybe. Yeah, I know my high schooler just recently got onto Twitter, and she's been a big Instagrammer for a while, which has been a platform that I don't really use a whole lot, but I think that the kids of her age do.
That's actually really interesting to hear somebody go from using Instagram back to Twitter, because I mean, Twitter's a lot. I think a lot of teenagers have used Twitter a lot. I think they liked it a lot. I think they probably gravitated a little more towards Jot a little bit, which is another app for messaging. But it's interesting to hear going from Instagram to Twitter now, because Instagram, you know, obviously hasn't been out since as long as Twitter has. So that is really fascinating.
For sure.
Well, so that's the first item today is, you know, Twitter replacing favorites with likes. I'm going to put a quick note in here. And I'm sure it's probably going to be one of those things that, you know, as usual, when something new comes out, people are always, you know, up in arms. They're not, you know, thrilled about the fact that, like, hey, they made this big change. And I think what you'll probably see is probably some backlash. And then either Twitter might back off that, or they might just say, hey, you know what, this is part of our game plan, part of our way of turning around the company, because obviously they're having a hard time right now keeping people on the site, getting people to kind of understand it. And so maybe, you know, favorites were a way to almost bookmark something. Maybe this is a way for them to start to turn the ship and streamline things a little bit.
Yeah, so, it could be. I think it probably just matters. Probably the only people it really matters to are people like you and I and Jose, who kind of follow social media. Everybody else probably just flies right by, I would think. But
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you're very true, very right on that. I mean, I think that we probably look at some of these things as like, oh wow, could be a big change, and most people are like, well, okay, great, now I can just. People are probably saying, oh man, one more thing to learn. Just when I just learned how to use Twitter.
Yeah, it mainly seems guys going, I don't really want to heart my buddy's. My buddy's tweet. But
I mean, it would be cool if, honestly, it'd be really cool if I think most of the networks would adopt some sort of a language in a way that would be a universal language. Like if, for example, if they could rate things based on emoji or something like that, like a certain level, like, big smiley face versus a frowny face, and give the whole there. Like something,
like a cross-platform type of standardization of
right
messaging. I gotcha.
Because if you really look at it, I mean, when you're on Facebook, like you get two options. You get to, you can comment, you can like, and you can share. You can't dislike something. This is something we've talked about on Social Chatter a good bit, which is, having like some sort of way to use, like I feel bad like liking somebody's post about like, oh, hey, their grandmother passed away or something,
It's a little awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I mean, it's the about cancer and you're like, I like that. Yeah.
Right. And absolutely the same thing with, Twitter. Like I think they're going to run into the same problem, which is, people for years have said, hey, Facebook needs a like button. And Twitter is now saying, hey, we're going to give you a like button, but there's no dislike button, Yeah. So I think they're going to have to, I think all of the networks are going to have to figure that out. Second item, by the way, I'm moving on to topic number 2, since I lost about 20 minutes there. Technology is so fun. I love how it helps us, but at the same time, it can hinder us because, hey, the only other way I could do this blab, I guess, is, like if I could do sign language, or maybe I could write cards or something. But topic number 2, Google is now accepting podcasts into the Google Play Store. It came out a little bit early last week, and I actually didn't mention it last week because it was, I mean, I know a lot of people have started kind of to put their shows on there, but if you've got a podcast, I would recommend, you put it on Libsyn, put it on Stitcher, like get it hosted properly and get it out on the channels that can help promote it. I think having Google Plus is also going to be a good tie-in. I would love to see something maybe move into like YouTube somehow, because I don't know of very many people that actually go to Google Play to actually who's going to go listen to a podcast? I rarely even go there. I mean, I might pick up, some music or something every so often, but most of my stuff, for instance, is done through iTunes. So I think, having your content on these networks is going to be good. I don't know if Google Play is going to catch on unless they're going to somehow, have some sort of app that works, say, on iOS or something as well that'll help them capture that market. What do you think? Are you a podcast user or a podcast listener?
I'm a big podcast listener, but I've never used Google Play, I don't think, for anything. I guess is it kind of like the iTunes equivalent, or the for the
it's the iTunes equivalent in a way. It also adds in a neat little flavor, which is they added in YouTube Red a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you heard about that. It's a $10 service you can pay per month. They also gave you access to Google Play Music, which basically would then be a streaming service. So it's like Apple Music, Spotify, what else? Amazon Music,
Right.
Same type thing, except now, they're basically broadening their category classification to have podcasts. So, I would think it would be really neat if you were doing something like this, if you could somehow maybe have it impact your search ranking. For instance, like if you had your podcast on Google Play, maybe it would potentially rank higher on a Google search or something to that effect. As a
kind of like Google Hangouts,
Google any sort of Google Plus post. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be neat if they want to get some market share. I think they might need to consider having some of those items potentially available. Heck, I'd love to even see. I don't know. I've never actually done this. Is there a Google search? You can go and do Google search and like pull up news and videos and things like that. Is there actually one for podcasts? Because that would be pretty neat. Let's see. So yeah, you can pull up images, news, shopping, videos, more. So there's no podcast one. So I actually think that would be pretty neat to have a podcast one. To have a podcast.
That'd be pretty powerful.
I mean, that'd actually be pretty neat. Like if you could somehow like tie that into your Google profile, maybe, and then that way, if people were maybe able to pull up your profile, they could see your website, then they could see like maybe that, oh, hey, this person has a podcast or something. So I think that could be pretty slick. So let me see. Jose dropped off, so I guess he was having audio issues. So that's topic number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Topic number 3. Facebook is testing local marketing for like selling products. This was actually over on TechCrunch. Basically, Facebook's testing like a dedicated buying and selling community using Facebook groups. I recently was it last week? Yeah, I was on at a conference, a virtual conference, presenting on Facebook groups last week, and this is a question that I get a ton of questions on. People are always asking, "Hey, how do you sell in Facebook groups? Can you sell on Facebook groups?" And the answer is yes, you can. There's now an option. It's a buy, trade, and sell option. So this is pretty neat. They're testing a feature to be able to do this within groups. I think that it's only being tested right now. That's the unfortunate side, but I think that I'm wondering actually, is Facebook trying to become Craigslist as well, because they are really branching out into a lot of areas that I don't know if they really fit with their business model, or they don't make sense at the moment. Are they trying to become like an Amazon maybe?
When you have 1 billion users, I think they could probably try and just about anything to make a buck.
Do what?
To make $1. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to scroll through this article that you posted because I'm not that familiar with it.
And I'm actually waiting for my browser to stop spinning. Wow. Technology.
I'm gonna have to hop off in just a second, buddy, because this laptop's about to die. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries at all. So I'm wondering if I'm going to have to hop off myself. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Okay. So yeah. So I think overall, I think that it'll be interesting to see if Facebook ends up becoming more like an Amazon, because they seem to be doing a little bit of what Apple does, but then a little bit of what Amazon does, which is to get into a lot of different areas. So they're doing drones, they're doing 360 video. They're getting into they're trying to compete with YouTube. It seems like they're trying to compete with everyone to become the web, in a sense, for everybody to do everything through, I guess, to connect with friends and to shop and to, listen to music, which is actually the next topic I wanted to talk about. So very cool. Well, if you have to drop, no worries. Thank you so much, by the way, for helping me out and letting me fix some of these audio issues today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. You guys have a great weekend.
If you want to join again, we do this every Friday. Thanks. So that's topic number 3. Jose, if you want to join back on, feel free to. We'd love to have you. I don't know if if you got your audio issues fixed. As you can see, I'm having a ton of them. So with that, well, I'm waiting to see if you want to join. The 4th item I want to talk about today is probably, we just talked a second ago about the fact that Facebook is really starting to branch out into a lot of areas. They're testing selling through Facebook groups. They're doing drones. They're getting into, trying to rival YouTube. 4th item is Facebook Music. And this is kind of neat. I personally, I don't know if I'm going to use this. I mean, I haven't quite gotten into the habit of going to Facebook to find out what my friends are listening to and things like that, because I have my own interest, and also depending on the service I use, a lot of that information is already there, not necessarily from my friends, but more from people that actually are probably a little bit more what's the word I want to say, that have a little more expertise in curating music. So the feature is Facebook Music Stories. It's basically a way for you, if you're on, say, Google, let's say you're listening to Apple Music, and you find something you want to share on Facebook, like a song you're listening to, you can share it on Facebook. It will put a story in your news feed, and then somebody can preview the track, and then they can click on it in their respective service. Obviously, like if you're using Apple Music and they click on it, it will open Apple Music and give them obviously the opportunity to, they can either potentially engage with the artist, they can listen to that track, they can become an Apple Music subscriber if they are not one. So that is a 4th option, or sorry, a 4th topic today, which is Facebook Music. I don't know, personally, me, like I said, I don't really, I don't go to Facebook and look at what my friends are listening to. I like the feature. I'm wondering, this is kind of just building out a little bit of framework maybe, and then removing favorites, replacing it with a heart, but Jose, do you have any thoughts on that? I know you can't get on here on camera, but I'd love to hear. Can you type out anything? I want to hear what you think about this. Do you find yourself, Jose, old school MySpace? There we go. I'm sure that is exactly what Facebook wants to hear. They're trying to be cutting edge, I guess, and they come out with a cool feature, music stories, and it's like, hey, going back to MySpace. That is a good point you made there. I mean, do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's going to be like, what do you think it's going to help solve, or do you think it's going to help solve anything? Is it just going to give Facebook more of a finger, in the, in another pie, basically into the music pie here, or do you think that, do you think it's going to be something that people are going to have to get used to? So with that, I want to actually jump into a couple of, let's see what Jose, people will get used to it, but I don't think I actually tend to agree. And you know what? It reminds me of when Spotify came out. Spotify had a feature, which, I listened to it, I used it a little bit, where you could share what you were listening to on Facebook. I don't think that it was very seamless. And and this still requires some steps. Like, it requires me to go to Apple Music to listen to the music, and then to click a button to hit share on Facebook. And then voila, it's going to show up on my Facebook profile. But I don't know. Personally, I agree with you. I don't think that's going to get used a lot. I think it's a nice feature, but I think it's more of a distraction. If people, like, if I'm in business, for example, I don't care about that. I don't care that, like, I can share my music unless, like, I'm getting something out of it, but, I think Facebook's probably using it as a means to get people to stay on the site longer. I guess if you have to listen, for example, if you can listen to music while you're in Facebook, maybe that will keep people on the site a lot longer, help them get their numbers up, and then potentially get people to, at that point, stay on Facebook, see what's going on, that sort of stuff. So we'll see where that goes. So welcome, who is this? Let's see. Welcome, Phoenicia Hudson. Welcome to the show. Who else do we have here? Welcome, Stephen. Let's see. Yes, to see more advertisements. Absolutely. And you know what? They probably will use that as a means to do something with, like, impressions, to say, hey, you know what? We have X amount of impressions or X amount of people potentially on the site at some time. And then to encourage people to advertise. I actually was reading a study today. It was talking about, I think there were like only 2.5 million people taking advantage of advertising on Facebook. So I'm wondering if, all these little moves are a way to get more people to advertise on Facebook. If they can prove that this is successful, maybe more of the, artists will start to advertise their music, or you'll start to get more people advertising music for the artist. Welcome, Michelle, by the way. Michelle Tantrum, welcome to this episode of Social Chatter as well. So yeah, so with that, those are some of the topics we talked about today. Who else we got here? We got Daniel Terry as well. Thank you for joining. The Holy Land Experience in Orlando. I'm actually very familiar with that. Down by was it Mall of America, I think? Or let's see. Or actually, it's Millennium Mall, I think. So welcome. So just to give you guys a quick recap on the topics we talked about. Talked about Twitter replacing favorites with likes. So your stars are now becoming hearts. Obviously, this changed the connotation, because now previously people would favorite something on Twitter if they wanted to bookmark it, or they wanted to give somebody, props and whatnot. And now when somebody likes something, people are starting to measure tweets and engagement. Second item we talked about Google accepting podcasts on Google Play. I was talking about that with John over here. We were talking about how Google Play, it'd be really cool if somehow this would tie into maybe search. Maybe they could put into a Google profile, having your podcast on Google Play and giving you some sort of benefit for doing that. Because I think that's going to really improve, just Google's overall grasp on, things, encourage more business owners, more people to really get into, putting their information online if they're going to have a podcast and whatnot. And I actually would love to see possibly even Google host things for a podcast. Maybe that would be pretty neat. Google or maybe even Amazon or something. So that way I can keep all my services within Google or something. And I don't have to use Google and Libsyn and all these other services. So that's topic 2. Topic 3, we talked about Facebook testing local markets. I'm giving you guys a quick recap because a bunch of people just joined. This was a feature regarding selling, for example, and it reminds me, I talked to John about this. It reminds me of Craigslist. It reminds me of how you could use Facebook groups. And again, this is a feature they're testing. You can use Facebook groups to test out selling on Facebook. So pretty neat. That one is, again, like I said, it's in testing. I could see though it being a Craigslist type thing where you could go to a group and quickly sell stuff. I know you could do that now with the, if you go into a Facebook group and go to the group types in your settings, you can go to the buy, trade, and sell option, and it'll let you list items you want to sell. I think it'd be pretty neat if it was almost there was a broader group maybe, or some way to use it, some sort of way to kind of take all of the things that people are trying to sell and put them inside of almost like Facebook in general. If you're like, hey, I want to buy this item, instead of having to go to Craigslist, maybe you could do it right there. And then last, we just talked about Facebook Music Stories. John, Jose and I were having a great discussion on this. We're talking about how Facebook is, this is a nice feature, but it's not something that most business owners are going to really take advantage of probably. I mean, unless I guess you're a musician, you really you want your music obviously to be advertised. But if I'm the average everyday person running a business, I'm not going to really care if what I'm listening to is shared on Facebook. Now, it would be cool if there was some sort of automation of this to where if I am listening to something, if we could somehow, if we could take the music and we could put it into if it automatically started sharing it if I was playing something, that would be pretty neat. So yes, we do actually have some links to these. Which particular item are you looking for? Because I have some of them listed throughout this chat, but I'll actually put them in again. So I talked about topic 1. Okay, so there's topic 1. Topic 2, we talked about just Google Play. I'll get you a Google Play podcast link as well. Let's see. You're very welcome. You're so welcome. I'm glad I can provide you with these links. So there's topic 2. Topic number 3, Facebook testing local markets. Topic, and the last topic, and again, like I said, I try to do between 3 and 5 topics. So this is Facebook Music Stories. You can read a little bit more on each of these. So those are 4 topics for today. I also did want to mention, my co-host Vincent Orlek, he was not able to be here today, but he is going to make his best effort next week to get on our show. So I did want to now switch over to tools, and like I said, I try to share 3 to 5 topics and then 3 to 5 tools. Today we've got 3 tools for you. The first one is hashtag analytics, and this is it's a campaign dashboard. There's a link to this tool for everybody here. This is basically it's by Postano. It's pretty neat. Basically, it gives you a visual insight for your social campaign. So you can see, for example, if you've got tweets or Instagram, you can see what your top posts are. You can see what kind of reach you have, what kind of influencers you have. some of the interest for things. It's really great because it lets you dig into the metrics that are absolutely important as a business owner. You need to be not just looking at what am I, how many page views did I get from my blog? Like, that's great. You need to look at that every single month. But you also need to be looking at some of the other things you're doing to make sure, like, for example, if I look at my influencers, like if I see, okay, who are the top people that are retweeting my content? It's not just about saying, oh, great, like I got a bunch of people that followed my content and, and engaged with it. I want to make sure that I also engage back with those people. And a lot of times we overlook that. We don't take the time on social. We just post and go. And you need to post, but you need to also spend time after, you run a big campaign or something, go and engage back with that audience, whether it's, following them back, thanking them, within, 24 to 48 hours if you can, or obviously sooner, but go back and try to make some adjustment, try to go back and engage with those people, engage with that audience so that they're going to stick around. Because if you don't engage back and, they've really given back to you and engaged and whatnot, like you're going to have a hard time, taking that relationship any further. So that is tool number one. I want to talk about tool number two today. Tool number two is going to be tool number two. It's called Who's Down, and it's by Google. And I don't know if anybody has actually looked at this tool before. It's an app. It's a free app by Google. It is, this one's kind of neat. Like, you got to remember we have 1,440 minutes, I guess. Let me see. So we got 1,440 minutes in a day. And if you go on things and you spend a lot of time debating, well, who wants to do this or that? Like, for instance, who wants to go here for lunch, or who wants to get a poll? Let your friends, you want to go do something, and they could say, hey, I'm down for doing this or not. So very neat tool. It's free. So for example, you could say, hey, who wants to go to a movie? Who wants to, study? Who wants to, go for a hike or something? So you put all these things in there, and it's a way to make threaded messages within an app. Super handy tool. I've been testing it out. Daniel, which one are you asking about? Are you asking about hashtag tool, or are you asking about the Google tool? Which one? So what's the question exactly? So are you asking if you pay per month on the tool, or are you paying what exactly? You can try it if you want. I would recommend, I always recommend, if there's a trial available, give it a try, make sure that it works for your business, and then you can get into deciding if you want to pay for it. A lot of times people sign up for stuff and they never use it. So you might want to, I would recommend checking that out first. That way you can make sure that it also fits within your budget. Because I don't know what your, if you're a business owner, it is a little bit pricey. It's $80 a month. You get a 14-day trial. They limit it based on what you're tying in. Like, you've got Twitter and you've got Instagram, but you're limited, for instance, by streams and users and things like that. So I would recommend giving the 14-day trial a try first. It's $80 a month after that. So that's a lot, actually. I did the trial, actually. I have not decided if I'm going to buy it yet or not, because it is, like I said, $80 a month is a fair amount to spend on an analytics tool. It's a lot, considering, if you're doing it for an individual business, you're if you're a very large business and you have fairly deep pockets, a lot of times you don't use a lot of, one tool for this and one tool for that. You usually have one custom solution. So I'm only using the trial right now. But I wanted to make sure, and like I said, I haven't decided if I'm going to pay for it yet or not. Probably not, but that's only because I want to test it out and see what it's like. Just because there are other tools. Like, I looked at a tool last week called Dasheroo, which is And I'll actually put you a link in here to that as well. But Dasheroo is an analytics tool as well that lets you pull in analytics for all your different sites as well. Yes, very true. Very true, Robin. So many tools. And here's the thing, I can't stress this enough with tools. If you are going to pick up social tools, you need to have, a purpose in mind. Like, what are you looking to get out of using the tool? If it's just, hey, I have this tool that's going to, save me a couple of minutes, like if it's really expensive and it's going to save you a couple of minutes, you have to kind of do an assessment there. Also, if you're just getting started as a business owner, you don't need all these tools to get started. Like tools that most Twitter users will use, and there are a number of there's a ton of paid options. And at the beginning, I would recommend that are going to matter for your business, to get started. And then as you grow and you can afford to use those tools, then you can start to put some of those into place. You don't have to just jump in and say, hey, I'm going to spend, what is this? This is $80 a month. Like that's $1,000 a year that you're spending, for a tool. Like I would definitely make sure that I've got enough revenue coming in on my business before I go in and sign up for a tool like that. So we got a couple of questions here actually, by the way. So Tommy over here asks, how do you hook up multiple cams and how do I hook up a preamp and mic to stream music? Not really sure what you're referring to there exactly. Are you like looking to do that within like what exactly? So thank you, Jose. Thank you for that long blab. But we'll, if you want to hook up multiple cameras, yeah, you might want to check out. Yeah, wrong blab. So we can't answer that question. Sorry. And I mean, if I knew the answer, I would help you, but I just don't know the answer. So let's see, that was the second tool. Third tool that I want to talk about today is a tool called Bitmoji. You're very welcome, Tommy. Okay, so we'll get to that. I've got another question. I'll get to that in a second. So we've got another tool. This is actually called Bitmoji. This is a pretty neat little tool. It's a fun tool for people who are looking to, how can I put it? We use this, I can tell you, like we use this, like you can create little like emojis and whatnot for yourself, and you can create it through this is the app, but they also have an app. They also have, I think there's a desktop version as well, but pretty neat little tool, pretty fun little tool if you want to add a little personality to your business, and really kind of go, find a way to like let your personality shine through. It's pretty neat. You can actually create some pretty realistic Bitmoji. So Jose, what kinds of things are you using it for? Images for Facebook and Twitter. So did you make like a logo? What'd you do with it exactly? Trying to pick into an emoji. So, I mean, overall, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think there's a purpose, there's a benefit to using it. I mean, I don't think it's a huge benefit, but I think that it's really good because it can help inject a little bit of fun into your business. I think that it can really make it I think it can really make it a really, like just going beyond just like, okay, here's like a regular picture, be like, add some personality. And heck, if you even like that, I mean, you could take that character you create, you could use it in other aspects of your business if you want to. So, so that is tool number 3 for today. What else we got today? Let's see. How's it going, Bonnie? If you want to jump on, feel free to. We're very close to wrapping up, but feel free to jump on. Actually, that is the last tool for today. Let's see, we've got quite a few. Bonnie, do you want to jump in here at all on anything or talk about anything, or if not, I'm gonna wrap up probably. Okay, so very cool. Okay, well, so with that, I wanted to just quickly thank everybody. We had a bunch of technical issues at the beginning. I think we were still having a lot of audio issues. I don't know if you've had any of those today, Bonnie. Our audio basically cut out, and then it passed it on to someone else who tried to join. So we're not sure what was going on, if it was Blab or if it was just technology. But I'm really thankful for everybody that has shown up to this week's Blab. Jose, yes, we would love to have you. And I'm going to have my co-host, Vincent Orlek, back on next week as well. So basically, as I mentioned, this is Social Chatter. My name is Christian Karasevich. I run the brand Social Chefs, and what we do is we try to bring you what's new, what's hot in social media for the week, whether that's talking about, some popular topics for the week, changes to some of the social platforms. And then I try to add value by giving you 3 to 5 tools that you can also use in your business. This week we mentioned using hashtag analytics for tracking your Instagram and your Twitter hashtags. That's an $80 a month tool. They give you a 14-day trial. Worth checking out, but make sure when you're choosing tools that they fit whatever the needs are for your business. Tool number 2 was Who's Down by Google. It's a mobile app, very neat though. You can basically put together a quick little questionnaire, a little poll for your friends, and you can invite them to answer, such as, hey, who wants to, go to dinner or go see this particular band or a movie or whatnot. You could even probably incorporate this into your business by doing something like, who would like to discuss whatever a topic would be that's important in your business that you need to address. And lastly, we talked about Bitmoji, fun little tool for creating quick little emoji of yourself. Take your own photo, create a neat little emoji. We use it actually in work as well. And it's a tool that I find a lot of fun to use to inject a little bit of personality. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this week's episode of Social Chatter. If you would like to subscribe to next week's show, I'm going to put a link so you can join next week's show. And that will be our 12th episode. We do these every single week on Fridays. We are talking about changing the times. We're currently doing them at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we may change that. We might go to 8 a.m. We might go to 9 a.m. Who knows? Just so we can get more people on the show. And then lastly, if you do want to get on a list, every week I send out an email right before the show with a link to the Blab along with some suggestions on what the topics are going to be, so you'll know what is going to be on the show. We don't tell you everything, obviously, but we tell you most of the topics that are there, so you know what's going to be happening. You can text Weekly Social to 33444. It's basically going to put you on our list. And then, or you're going to get an email opt-in actually. And then once you join that list, I will send you an email about a couple hours before the show. So with that, I want to say thank you everybody for joining. Bonnie, we'd love to have you back. John, every single Daniel, every single person that's on here. Jose, we hope you get your audio fixed. And this way, you can join us and take a seat next to us and we can talk social media. So I will see everybody. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you so much, Jose. And John, I really appreciate all of the help today with the, definitely with the audio, because my audio, I wouldn't have this show today if you hadn't stepped in and helped me host. So thank you so much. I will see everybody there. See you next week. Thanks.